I'm hopeful, regardless of the outcome. Boost the positive energy without one. Sorry about the jab, I'm on a holy field. I'm bearing fruit, but demons try to eat them like Yoshi meal. I pissed them off the Batman like Falcone deals. Jungle full of predators, I know how Mowgli feels. So I got the fire, refuse to live in fear. I can spot suppliers, eating fresh rolls. Call me
Welcome to episode 249 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is My Passion. The only pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. And how you doing, honey?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. This episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! Heaven's Harvest, 10% off with promo code PERMA. Handle all your preparedness needs yourself. Everything you can't source, go check out Heaven's Harvest. And it also helps us out, too. If you needed the time to think about preparedness and you're waiting and you're thinking I'm on the fence right now, look, you don't necessarily have to go to Heaven's Harvest. Like I said, we've done tons and tons of videos about how you can source a lot of this stuff yourself and how you should be, especially when it comes to freeze drying and stuff like that, man. If you do it yourself, it tastes exactly the way you want, has exactly the quality ingredients you want. But if you want to outsource that, you want to put your hands on other things, that's where you should go check out Heaven's Harvest. Yeah, that's not my most profitable sponsor out there, you dig? Because I'm constantly telling everybody, go do it yourself.
Well, they do have good seeds.
No, oh my goodness. Yeah, those seeds they're batting 1,000 on those, so they are good. All right, if you want a tip, I'll pimp, do it over there on the Fountain app. Listen to all your podcasts over there, even triple up the speed if you like. So for those that don't know, we're broadcasting live. It seems like YouTube kind of took the brakes off of what we say on this podcast. We exclusively went over to the audio platform simply because there are things we say on this show from time to time, a lot of times that would ordinarily get us get the feed cut right here on YouTube. I mean, yeah, so much for a free platform. But hey, everybody in the chat, I want to give you a shout out. Thanks everybody for being in there. And if you would hit the thumbs up if you're just rolling in here. What's up, my pimp? Yeah, what's up, Rose, Jane, Stories and Songs with Mrs. Joy, Miss Ann Knox, Green County Agroforestry. Man, they've been around a while. Darlene. Yeah, Shield Master for Christ, man. Shield Maiden for Christ, man. I really love that name. I mean, it almost sounds like it ought to be a name of a 80s Christian rock band or something, you know? I mean,
I was thinking a superhero.
Okay, well, yeah, that's probably more appropriate. All right, so we're not going to mess around, y'all. I want to thank everybody for coming in tonight. We're going to get into the main topic here in a little while, but we're going to, as always, if you're new to this podcast, we're going to have the farm section first. So we'll talk about farm news. Man, hey, I want to give a shout out to all the people out there. I guess they've heard some of the interviews I've done. And they were at some of the, that town hall we did last Tuesday, where a lot of people are basically trying to throw money at me. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Folks, I want to tell you right off. Look, this audience, you folks out there have already raised about $400,000, whether it was for to pay the farmers or whether it was for the bakery or for some of the other things out there. I'm trying to be extremely cautious about what I go to you for regarding anything. And a lot of when I say people are throwing money at me for the express purpose of remediating Western North Carolina, I'm talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Folks, look, I just want to make it very clear. Number one, I can't thank you enough for your kind offer. And I think I'm speaking for Michelle as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for doing that. But folks, the idea is to do as much as I can to source as much as we can for free to do this, to bring to bear people that may have equipment. Let's say a compost starter is just collecting dust somewhere. Typically off the shelf, that's going to cost you $35,000. We need a tractor to run it. Okay, we don't have a tractor in this environment. We couldn't use one if we wanted one.
Right.
Not in this environment.
Without tearing up our pastures.
Yeah. I mean, it just can't. And plus, couldn't use it anyway. I mean, our hills are entirely too much for it. We'd flip the tractor just trying to get that thing up and down the mountain. But additionally, when you get down to brass tacks on all this, the real truth of it is I'm trying to source. I know it's hard enough for everybody doing all you can to put bread on the table. And the last thing I want to do is come to you again with my hat in my hand asking for more money. Like I said, none of it has been for us. We haven't gotten a single dime out of it. In fact, we've lost money on our own businesses. But not complaining about that, I just feel like it's our duty to be able to do this stuff. Now, in a million years, I did not see us in this position of, we probably make the best compost around here. I'd put it up against anybody's. And that's going to be the backbone of how to remediate that. I'll talk about that here in a minute, at least part of the remediation strategy. But I want to, everybody keep your powder dry. I will come to y'all again with my hat in my hand if I need to. But I'm going to do everything I possibly can to see how many people we can partner with things that already exist before I go asking anybody for any money to do things. So, man, it's just so deeply stirring right here in my heart to know that there are so many people out there, so many selfless people that just want to remediate this stuff. And I'll get to the process of what that's going to entail here in a minute. But so tomorrow night I'm going to be on here live with Jack Spirko with one of the components that's going to, and folks, you definitely want to be in here for this. It's going to be 7:00, I think, Eastern tomorrow night. And we're going to be talking about one of the components that's needed. And Jack just happened to just come out with a course. I mean, boy, you talk about great timing, good and bad timing if you want to get down to brass tacks on this. But Jack just came out with a course. And he's going to be covering some of the things that need to be done in terms of cover crops. Now, that sounds like a boring topic.
I thought y'all would be covering the election tomorrow night.
Oh, how about that? No.
I thought that's why you scheduled him for tomorrow night.
Negative. We're not going to be talking about that. Like I said before, it's like picking out the hood ornament on a car that's about to run you over. That's basically the way I see that. So we're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about one of the components of the remediation strategies that are required to get this place on point. Yeah, I'm reaching for the water right now. So hey, Michelle, tell everybody where we ate last night.
Oh, at Shane's Creaky Treat Cafe.
Yeah.
Food truck. And he's parked out at Spruce Pine
at the Appalachian Hat Company. Yep. So
best food I've had
since the last time we ate his food. Yeah. Yeah. Best food we've had. So what we're going to try to do, folks, give us a shout out in the chat if you think so, or send me an email if you're down for it. What we were kind of thinking is one of the areas hardest hit. That's the place where they do all that quartz mining out there at Spruce Pine. Okay. And I don't care what anybody says. Go check out the interview I did with Dane Wigington and you'll know what I'm talking about. They steered this storm. They combat multiplied it. They basically destroyed all the revenue out this place. Well, Shane, food truck or not, there is not a better restaurant around.
I don't care what he cooks in. The restaurant, a food truck, a fire pit.
Man, it could be in one of those solar ovens, man. And I'm telling you, whatever he puts out there, y'all, I walked out of there like a little fat yellow Pokemon, man. My belly, man, I was fat. And anyway, what we're thinking about doing is to benefit that community out there. The Appalachian Hat Company, not only do they sell hats, but they got like a bar in there if you're into that sort of thing. And they got a lot of seating, or at least some seating. And the town has been decimated. So we're going to see if we can't put together a little impromptu sort of, homesteader preparedness get together kind of thing and see if they'll let us do it right there at that place. And Shane, he was thinking about doing it on a Sunday, and he's come up with this brunch menu that would absolutely knock your socks off, folks. And as far as the price, because we ate at Asheville the day before, we don't normally eat out, folks. I mean, we normally almost never eat out. But we just happened to be in Asheville the day before, and we ate at another place. Okay, his food was twice as good and half the price. And if we can go out there and support not only Shane running his food truck, but also what he's looking to do as far as taking all these people that are displaced from the service community, people, waitresses and stuff like that, waiters and whatever the case may be, and trying to come up with ways in which to put these people to work. So if anybody's digging something like that, man, I'm telling you, you're not going to be disappointed with the food. I mean, he even had like his what he called his substandard menu, where it was basically even the bratwurst, man.
Oh, that was his substandard.
Yeah, he was like, this is
Oh,
like my
wow.
bar food, like throw it together kind of menu. And then he showed me the menu he's going to do for something like that. So, folks, if we could do like an impromptu gathering where it's not like no rock stars, man, there's never any of that kind of stuff when I'm there. Look, we just show up, we eat, we fellowship, we hang out, we even commiserate if you need to. So if anybody's digging something like that, man, just kind of give me a shout out, Billy at permapasturesfarm.com, or just let us know right here in the chat if anybody's willing to do something like that. Because I think, if, like I said, it would also be a big shot in the arm to this community out there that has suffered so much. And it would help not only these people that are struggling just to keep the doors open, because right now they still don't have running water out there. You're having to use porta potties and stuff like that, which I will do if it means keeping these people in business. So even in Asheville, it's the same sort of thing. So if anybody's in the local area or you might be showing up, we're going to see if we can't put something together out there. So, provided we still got a planet following tomorrow. So, yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily going to be the, I'll put it this way. All the prognosticators of doom may be a little bit disappointed. Oh man. So got some other news out there. Got an environmental engineer. Okay, folks. Okay, when it comes to remediation procedures, it has to go in order. I know everybody is so chomping at the bit. People are blowing me up all the time saying, hey, we need to get out here. We need to go ahead and do this. Look, it's got to be done scientifically and it's got to be done right. Okay, first thing we need, and I've been working on all this time, is samples that we could send to an honest lab. Well, just so happens one of my friends, and I don't know I should say her name right now. She's going to be on the show in the future, but her husband just happens to be an environmental engineer. They happen to live in North Carolina on the other side of the state. Well, they're coming out. I won't say when, but it's going to be this week sometime. They're going to be coming out and they're going to be pulling samples, and they found a reliable lab to take samples in at least 3 places around here. Now, for the people that are wanting to go out there and just start remediating, and I can't get people to understand this, we have got to have to show that you did anything, Michelle. Okay, you're a scientist, so tell everybody.
Yeah, you got to have your data before you start remediating. So if you see that your heavy metals are at this level before you start remediating, you have to, after you do whatever it is that you decide to do, you then take another sample and say, okay, did this work? Are lead levels down? Are whatever it is. You have to be able to see if it did any good or if you need to go in and do something else.
And then you got to also know we got to have a basis in which we started. And then, so let's say we go out there, get the sample, and then we do a remediation strategy. And I'll talk about what that consists of here in a minute. And let's say it moved the needle in the positive direction. Well, if you didn't have any if you didn't have any lab tests beforehand, how do you know? So and lab folks, I mean, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this, but I imagine I'll fund it out of my pocket or something, but we're going to be getting samples from 3 different places. But, okay, here's the procedure for all those out there that are wondering, well, hey, why don't you get right on it? Why don't you get hopping and popping? Okay, first of all, we need lab samples. Okay, just talked about that. Okay, so now we got a plot we're going to work on. First thing we're going to put down is extract, because immediately, this is one of those things I learned from our expert that came in. This part I didn't know. Other things I do know, and she knows as well. But as soon as we come through and put down some ballin', pungent compost extract, it immediately dissipates 50% of whatever problems may be there already. So it's already adding a safety blanket already for not only the workers working on this, but also to the soil itself. Okay, so we start with the extract. Then we're going to put down biochar. Now, this biochar it's not your garden variety charcoal, y'all. In fact, biochar is not that at all. It's basically an apartment complex, as William always puts it. It's an apartment complex for your microbes. So before we ever put that biochar down, you got to do it this way. Otherwise, we're going to be robbing the microorganisms out of the soil. So we got to basically charge it with the extract beforehand. So basically, we're putting tenants into those little apartments. Okay. So got the extract, put down your biochar. And then if we're doing this in the winter, which it looks like we're going to need to do, then what's the next thing we're going to put down? Lots of carbon.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to consist of, for us, considering all these trees. Remember, in permaculture, the problem is the solution. So we got all these down trees. Okay, so that means we're going to be doing a whole lot of wood chips, putting that down. Because look, whenever you have bare soil out there, bad things happen. That's why you got weeds coming up. Okay, it's going to create compaction. It's only going to exacerbate whatever problems currently exist, and they're going to persist. So we put down the carbon, and then all through the winter until we get into the vegetative season, we're going to be putting down loads and loads of extract. Okay. Now that sounds pretty easy, right? But here's what you got to understand, folks. With some of the areas we're working on, this extract means we need a truck. We need a pumper truck with a tanker on it. And I ain't trusting some hoople-headed truck driver to come out there. Nothing wrong with truck drivers, but I can't just trust anybody to go out there because, Michelle, what's the problem when you make extracts and teas?
Well, you have to be careful. Like your tank has to be, you have to know exactly what was in your tank before, because if it was anything caustic or whatever, the life that you put in there could possibly be just wiped out based on what they may or may not have in that tank before.
Well, okay, let's say it was a clean tank, and this is a owner-operator running this truck, and he's pulling water in it, okay? First of all, I got to be sure that the water he's putting in there, first of all, is not chlorinated or fluoridated. It will kill all my microorganisms unless I could hit it with some fulvic acid or humic acid or something like that. And then afterwards, what's the problem that is created whenever you... It
has to be cleaned out extremely well.
Has to be cleaned out thoroughly, because otherwise those microbes that we put into that water in the form of an extract, but mostly a tea, when you make a tea, y'all, look, I'm going to explain this real quick. There's a difference between an extract and a tea. When I say an extract, the idea is we take those microorganisms that are in an aqueous form or in the form of water, and then we want them to permeate the soil, okay, and get down in there, okay? That's an extract. What's a tea supposed to do?
A tea contains like all of the life from your extract plus other components. And one of those things is the glues, which is where you run into the trouble with your equipment. You have to make sure it's really cleaned out well, or else you're going to start getting anaerobic conditions and growing anaerobic organisms instead of aerobic organisms.
And if that happens, y'all, everything you do subsequently is for nothing. So we're explaining this to explain that this isn't some process you can just trust anybody to do. Your equipment has got to be clean, and I mean spick and span. So I'm not going to trust some fool out there who's just here to collect the check to come out here and... As
Elaine puts it, it has to be girl clean.
Oh, is that right?
Her words exactly.
Girl clean.
That's right.
Yeah, well, okay. It's got to be... Look, I'm a soldier, man. So, a soldier knows how to clean some stuff. So, but no, it's got to be so doggone spick and span that there is zero chance of you contact, because everything you just did would be for nothing. So, folks, I went through that process to explain that there are so many people out there after that course seem to think that this is just an in and out process. You go out there, you do this, that. No. This, first of all, the compost we're making is fantastic. The vermicompost we're making is fantastic. I don't have enough. We got enough land. We just don't have the topography to support it. Okay. To do windrow composting, which is exactly what we need. Everybody locally is hitting me up saying, hey, we can bring in this compost from over here. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. We just got a sample from one person in town. By the way, if you're watching, Allison, I rode by your place. Nobody was there. I picked up some of that compost that was brought in, and we'll test it and find out what's up. Problem is, when you bring in just garden variety, that stuff you buy in the bags, y'all, we've tested it all. It is all garbage. And ever since COVID, it got much, much worse. When people were starting to do more gardening and stuff like that, what happened? This stuff became worse. I mean, there's not a single stuff that comes in a bag that was worth 2 dead flies. I'm dead serious. So this is exactly the procedure that we got to go through. It is very specific. It's not difficult. It's just you cannot have anybody but passionate people doing this kind of work because it's too doggone consequential. I mean, we're playing for high stakes here. But the good news is I want to let everybody know that right now, like I said, we got an legit environmental engineer coming in that has good lab contacts. If you think this country is on the straight and narrow, let me ask you something. Why is it more difficult for me to find an honest lab than it is? I'm dead serious, you could find the bones of Osama bin Laden in the ocean easier than you can find a reliable lab to do reliable testing. And even then, the labs we're trusting, y'all, we can't even tell them where these samples came from. Otherwise, we don't know. I mean, there are too many corporate interests out there that are willing to tank these results because they're afraid it might do A, B, and C. We're having to send this stuff so far and wide, and I can't even tell y'all where it came. Until I get those results, I ain't telling anybody anything. That's why I'm not talking about what day of the week we're doing it, and I'm not talking about where these labs are coming from, and I'm not telling who's doing it, because believe it or not, there are interests out there that don't want this stuff seeing the light of day. So, so just so everybody knows, the process from start to finish, it's got to be clean. We have got to have the highest quality compost on the planet. And I'm going to be reaching out to some places around here to see if they will. This is why I'm not asking for money. I'm seeing how many places around here. Look, folks, I'm one of those people. I am not afraid to hear no. I will, and it ain't going to be because I didn't ask. So, and I can be pretty convincing if I can get myself in the front door with some of these folks. So I'm going to be hitting up some of the local universities and seeing if I could use some of their spare ground, maybe using their university tractor, maybe using, maybe they might even have a compost turner. It's unlikely, but I may be having to come up with 35 G's just for that. And that's for a cheap one. But we're going to have to, in order to do all of this, I've got to produce compost on all those videos you've seen me do on a local level, folks, it's got to get scaled way up, because the composting is the backbone. If you don't have good compost, you don't have good extract. If you don't have good extract, you don't have good teas. And we have got to have all that. We know that we can remediate this stuff. It's just a matter of putting all these things together. So, folks, if I've been a little bit hard to contact or not been so responsive so much in the emails, that's provided that they even got to me. You'll know the reasons why, because I've been going at 100 miles an hour just to try to get some of this stuff. And the good Lord has been opening a whole lot of doors. And once again, y'all, please, I know a lot of people are offering money, but please offer your prayers. That's what we need more than anything. That's more valuable to me than any dead president on paper money that ain't worth nothing anyway. So just pray that the Lord gives us the wisdom of Solomon, not the mistakes thereof, but just the wisdom, and also the discernment that we need to know who's more polished than spit and more glitter than grit, because there's a lot of those folks running around too that, it's like Eric Sider was telling me the other day that Jeff, I don't know if I should have said that, but anyway, but he had a conversation with Jeff Lawton that a lot of people aren't really doing any of the necessary compost work because most people are fundamentally lazy. And people can call me a lot of things. Lazy ain't one of them. So anyway, yeah. So I'm working on doing another little compost project around here too. Hopefully I get to film that one. It's simple, but it's profound for all the folks out there that are having compost problems. I'm going to show you the different ways I use to heat up a pile. And remember, I said in the last video that we're going to go more into the preparedness realm. Look, it all starts with compost. It really does. So let's say like a lot of people right now in winter are having an issue where, oh my goodness, you didn't put in enough nitrogen source, okay? And so your compost didn't heat up enough. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips and tricks. Hopefully I'll get that filmed tomorrow. We'll just see how it goes. Whole lot of weird things might be going down tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes down. But what were you doing today out in the kitchen?
Well, I was draining off. I had done a Mullen tincture way back in June, and it was only supposed to go 6 weeks. And I just now got it strained out, got it bottled up, and put back.
All right. So yeah, we'll talk about some of those benefits here in a minute. But that's one of those things. I mean, preparedness, y'all. And like William and I had said in that last video, one of the biggest reasons why I kind of gotten myself, I talked less about it is because so many of the former Homestead YouTube channels have gotten into the preparedness space, and they're like, buy these 5 things. So I kind of acquiesced. Forget that. I'm taking it back. That's where I cut my teeth, and I know what I'm talking about on a lot of that stuff. And in the areas I don't, believe me, you'll know about it. So, and then I'll get on experts that do know more than I do in those areas. All right, y'all, coming up, speaking of preparedness, November 15th and 16th out there at Sow the Land, we're going to have our last pig processing for the year. And folks, you're going to want to be there for that because it is comprehensive. And I'm showing you a method that essentially works no matter the animal. So you're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to spend money for pig processing. Then I got to go back and do a lamb processing. Then I've got to go out cow processing. Nuh-uh. When you're done, you're going to get the PDF, and you're also going to get the video version of it, the digital version of all of it. So I think we got a few more spots. We got a few more spots, man. I don't know what's going on with the tongue-tiedness tonight, but that's going to be November 15th and 16th, and that's going to be at Sow the Land. So, Michelle, do we have a link for that in the show?
Yes, we do. It's in the show notes.
Okay. We'll have that in the show notes. And so if anybody wants to go out there, it's going to be the last one for this year. And if anybody's thinking, well, I'm worried about the election, whatever, that's all the more reason why you ought to get it, because I got a feeling this thing, if anything, is going to be a slow burn, but we'll just see. All right. Before we get into the good news, Redemption Shield 10% off with promo code PERMA. Anybody new coming in, please hit the thumbs up on the way in. Look, I'm G'd up from the feet up anytime I'm around this house, except for right now. And strangely enough, Michelle has her bare feet on the grounding mat. I can't even believe
You've got shoes on.
Yeah, because I was running up here to get here in time. Yeah. So if you need to be doing any grounding, and I suggest you do, when I'm in this studio, you can't see it, y'all, but there's studio lights in here. We're surrounded by electronics. I mean, I do a lot of other things, whether it's the shungite I'm wearing, whether it's the mitigation strategies with a wave watch. Man, I'm all about this biohacking, y'all, and I'm here to tell you, one of the biggest ones that I do not miss any single day is grounding. So if you can get your butt outside and go do that, that's always going to be the best. But right there next to it is if you can get a grounding mat, put it in the grounding part of your receptacle in your home. So if you're sitting there watching TV, whether you're working on a computer, and man, if you got them at work and you're surrounded by all this stuff, look, you don't build up these charges if you can have a grounding mat right there where you have your mouse pad. Just put your arms on it or put your bare feet on it, whatever the case may be. But anyway, redemptionshield.com, they'll get you squared away. They got some shielding stuff over there and a lot of cool new products. So Redemption Shield promo code PERMA will get you 10% off. All right, so let's talk about the good news. Yeah, somebody says, tell them, playa. Fed Up says... So some DMSO. I'm not going to go too deep into this because this is one of those areas where the powers that shouldn't be at YouTube might just go ahead and cut the feed. So we've talked about ivermectin in the past, and DMSO is the, quote, ivermectin-like miracle solution for strokes, neurological damage. Now, we just bought some the other day, and check it out. Where did you get it, Michelle?
Tractor Supply.
How about that? Yeah, so DMSO, I'm not going to talk about what it could or couldn't do because, like I said, there's certain topics that you get onto. It's D as in Delta, Mike, Sierra, Oscar. Delta, Mike, Sierra, Oscar, DMSO. You can get it pretty much at any, farm supply kind of store. It's been called a miracle remedy for brain and spinal injuries. So, folks, there's a lot of folks out there, and there's a lot of other subsequent injuries downstream of those that may not be called those that could also be, how do I say this? How do I manage this? That could be, I'm not allowed to say the word cured, but it might. I think everybody can read between the lines. So anyway, wanted to make you aware of that. But anyway, you can buy that stuff at any of your farm stores out there, just like the ivermectin. I mean, I take every Monday. Today's Monday, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't do it yet. Every Monday, I always take a prophylactic dose of ivermectin. Yes, I take the horse paste. I ain't telling you to do it. I'm just telling you what I do and what she does. So
and what we give our dogs too.
Just had to go there.
Every Monday.
I hope you're using a different doggone syringe than the one I'm using. But yeah, folks, I just weigh it out. I mean, okay, so I weigh right now. I guess I weigh around 170. which, man, seems like anorexic for me. But anyway, I'm walking around at about 170, so I just put it on roughly about 200 pounds and, just take it. I don't have any adverse effects, and she has neither. So if they want to call it horse paste, man, y'all call it what you want. Ivermectin, fenbendazole, DMSO. What was the other one I talked about last week? When I got sick.
The chlorine dioxide.
Chlorine dioxide. Man, folks, if you don't have any of that stuff on hand, I would seriously get it. I had some straight up food poisoning from some fish. I mean, some of the most depraved fish. I should have known better in the first place. I ate this stuff and I was messed up. I mean, literally at the crack of midnight, I go in there. I managed to stand up and I am shaking uncontrollably. And I took that stuff inside of 30 minutes, y'all. I was right as rain. So it's things like that the mainstream medical model isn't going to tell you about that stuff. But man, I'm a believer. I'd heard all these crazy Superman stories about this stuff, and I was like, man, I wasn't believing it until it actually worked. And I'm here to tell you, there's one company out there called Safrax, Saffrax. Somebody might have put it in the chat.
I think it's Safrax.
Okay.
That's the tablets.
The tablets. But
where there's also the liquid that you have.
Yeah, the liquid. I'm going to have to get with y'all on that one. But the liquid where you just put in 3 drops of each, let it sit for a minute, then add some water, drink it down. Man, I was blown away. But anyway,
I'll try to put that in the show notes.
Okay, so those are some of the I think KV Lab. That's where you get the stuff you mix. K is in kilo, V is in Victor. Labs. That's where I got the stuff you mix. That's pretty handy for around the house. But also I use the chlorine dioxide to clean out anything when I'm making compost tea or extract. If I want to clean out those bags I make the stuff with, well, that's one of the good ways to go about it too. So yeah, and folks, that's just, you got pet odors or something in your house. You got mold issues, black mold. That's one way of getting rid of, car smells that you want to get rid of. Yeah, that stuff works all the way around. So that's pretty handy to have on hand as well. All right. So next good news story. Now, folks, let me just preface this by saying I'm a political atheist. I'll always say I'm not red state. I'm not blue state. It's the state against you. I'm about as liberty minded as you're ever going to find, but I am not under any illusions. I'm definitely not under this left-right, false left-right paradigm that everybody seems to find themselves in. Like I said, for those that didn't do the homework assignment, go back and look in that Trump and Harris debate, find out the one area they agreed on. There was one, just one. When you find out what that is and you find out who really, and then you also find out who you can't criticize. I think that goes all the way back to Geoffrey Chaucer, but find out who you can't criticize and you'll find out who's really running things. So anyway, with that said, JD Vance says it's in America's best interest to not go to war in Iran. Okay. I don't trust that guy as far as I can throw him. And in fact, as soon I knew he was going to be on the stage, as soon as they came out with a Netflix thing about his story, Hillbilly Elegy or something like that. As soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, yep, they're already setting this dude up. He may speak well, he may talk well, whatever the case may be. I don't trust him or anybody else. But hey, you know what? If a notorious liar tells the truth, it's still the truth. So, and I think Malcolm X said something similar to that. So, yeah, I'm with JD Vance on that one. It's not in America's best interest to go to war in Iran. Look, there's never been a good war or a bad peace, to quote Ben Franklin, okay? So you can tell me who my enemy is. They've been pulling this crap since time immemorial, telling me we ought to go to war. Well, you send your kids over there to die, okay? You want to send my son on the first thing smoking over there to go get murdered. Like, hey, think about what Henry Kissinger said. And folks, this is from the top of my head, okay? Military men are big, stupid animals that should be used as tools for foreign policy. That's a quote from Henry Kissinger. And so you want your kids to go over there and die for whatever reason, for oil, for whatever, for greed, I don't care. You go ahead and send yours. I ain't sending mine, okay? Both of us used to be cannon fodder before we knew better. I know better now. And I want to give a hat tip to JD Vance. Don't trust you, but I enjoy the way you lie. All right. So let's talk about some other legit good news. 5 medicinal uses for mullein. I thought I'd bring that up because you were in fact.
Just
I mean,
tincturing it.
yeah, we grow it. I mean, it. Well,
Well,
obviously
it
we grow. It grows.
It grows naturally around here.
Yeah, so you can use it as a disinfectant, ear infections, because a lot of people are probably wondering, okay, well, what would you use it for? Well, it's a good disinfectant, especially with all the freaking Everclear you threw up in there. What'd you put in there? Vodka?
Well, no, it wasn't Everclear. It was, it was. I followed the directions. I tinctured with the correct alcohol that you're supposed to tincture with.
Well, I'm telling you what, if the mullein doesn't cure you, man, the booze will kill you, or at least make you not care about what your ailments are.
You're not supposed to drink that much.
So you put vodka in there?
That's what you tincture. That's what you tincture with is vodka. Yeah.
I went to school.
I didn't make the rules.
That reminds me, I grew up with this guy, man. Anybody knows anybody on the east side of Oklahoma City, northeast side of Oklahoma City, this will all make sense, okay? His name was Dwight. Had 2 kids, named them after drinks. Named the girl Brandy, and the boy he named Vodka D.
No.
Vodka D.
Vodka?
Vodka D. Yeah, no, there's no D in vodka in the hood. It's Vodka D. Vodka D, get over here. Yeah, but that's another story altogether. Anyway, we'll get back to the mullein. Disinfectant, ear infections.
Yeah.
You can put
In
vodka
oil.
down your ear.
No,
huh?
you for ear infections, you do an oil. You put it in oil, and I think you use the leaves for that. I don't think or not the leaves with the flowers. I did the leaves, but for the oil, I think you do the flowers in an oil.
Okay, ear infections, urinary tract infections.
Didn't know that.
Okay, bursitis, respiratory illness. Now we didn't know about that.
Yeah.
A poultice. I mean, teas. You can do it in tincture. Obviously, oil. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go about this.
I found another use for it. I was listening to a podcast about mullein, and there's something else you can do.
What?
There's something you're looking at me like.
No, go ahead.
So you can go fishing with the seeds, kind of like you do like black walnut hulls. It's very illegal, but you can stun fish with the seeds.
Really, with
if
mullein
you need
seeds?
to. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know about that. And folks, to give you a frame of reference of what she's talking about. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Tim Riley. If y'all can shake free, what can you read that? Because I can't read nothing with these glasses on.
Y'all can shake free December 7th. John Willis is having a party at the SOE compound in Camden, Tennessee. Live music, food trucks, flamethrowers, and more.
Yeah, nothing. Hey, you don't call it a party without pyrotechnics, right? Yeah. So what she was talking about. All right. Well, thanks so much, Tim. Don't know if we can make it or not, but it's good to know. We will. There's definitely a shout out there. Yeah, we'll show up with Michelle's tinctures of mullein and get everybody topped off. So, hey, we're bringing to the party. Yeah, we're going to get you healed and drunk. Yeah, and we're going to see if Vodka D's able to come along with us as well.
Also, there was a comment. I live in OKC. I went to school with a girl named Tequila.
Totally believe it. Totally. Hey, I graduated from Grant. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we know some of the same people over there. Yeah. Back to the mullein. She's talking about fishing with leaves. Let me tell you another little cool thing about black walnut. If you could take the husks, basically, man, I thought I was going to jail for this one because it's very illegal. It stuns the fish, but I could have swore it killed them. I went to this survival camp where I learned to take basically the husks of black walnut. You stick them in you crush them. You get a bunch of them, put them in a onion bag, put a string on it, throw it out there in a pond and watch what happens. Yeah, them fish are going to go floating. I mean, like they're dead kind of floating. Man, I'm sitting there dragging this out. I did it at the VA in Leavenworth, Kansas, because they had a pond up there, a fishing pond. Man, I was dragging that thing out about as quick as I could. Thought I killed those fish, but apparently it just stuns them. Highly illegal. It's also a good way to get fishing worms. If you take those same husks, put them in a 5-gallon bucket, fill it up with water, just kind of crush them up a little bit. You pour it on the ground. And if there's any worms in there, I'm telling you what, they are going to fly up out of that ground. It's almost creepy to watch. They will pop up out of that ground like nothing you've ever seen before. So supposedly it's highly illegal, but guess what? I don't obey unjust laws. Find me a reason why it ought to be illegal. And yeah, I ain't worried about it. So anyway, with that, we're going to go into my man, Eric Sider.
Hey, Eric Sider here with your Pimpcast tip of the day. Today's tip, how to be an asset. Of all the places I've visited and stayed, I don't think there is anywhere that I wouldn't be welcomed back. The more skills you acquire, the more of service you can be, but there is one trait that is more effective than anything else and will be in demand everywhere you go. Help out with the cleaning. Of all the communal situations I've been involved in, the number one chore that nobody wants to do is the dishes. A lot of the projects I've worked on have more traditional gender roles where women basically do 90% of the work. And if you want a project to be successful in these communities, you need the women on board. Helping out with the cooking and cleaning in these communities will put you in very good standing, especially if you are a man. I was in the kitchen so much in Australia when Jeff's mother-in-law was visiting from Jordan, she started calling me Uncle Fatima. And when later I went to work in Jordan, it was like I was instantly part of the family. As more and more people are being displaced and need to combine households, tensions can stir up quickly. One of the best ways to diffuse that tension is to do the dishes or wash someone's car, especially that old dirty farm truck that hasn't been vacuumed out in over a decade. It's great to have other skills to offer, but being clean and offering to clean will be appreciated anywhere you go and will ensure you are always welcomed back. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Eric Sider, and if you're in need of permaculture t-shirts or remote permaculture consultation and design, head over to ericsider.com.
That's my dog right there. And boy, he hit on something that is like a pet peeve of mine, is that when you're working in one of these areas, okay, when you live in a communal structure, Michelle can vouch for this. When it comes to dishes, there is nothing I hate more than having to do is it's that same person who will always take their dirty dishes, put them in the sink. You're doing them, and then they come back to you. And what do they say, Michelle?
I was going to do that.
I was going to do that. I was going to do that. That, and it's always the same person every single time. Like, okay, then why did you do it on the spot? So the golden rule in this house is if you mess it up, you clean it up. There ain't no pile of dishes in the sink, man. It's one thing if you just leave a spoon in there or a coffee cup or something, but it's typically in these communal environments. That's where you find out. There's a word we used to use in the Army, but I can't say it here. It begins with buddy. Okay. I'm sure somebody will put it in the chat. But anyway, it's always that same person who will always be the one who will refuse to clean up or will always be the one to say, I was going to do that. I was going to do that. And it doesn't even just matter in the kitchen. It'll be in the farm. You know who I'm talking about, that one MD who would always be famous for, I was going to clean that up or I was going to do that. Always the same people every single time. So when you find yourself in those structures, that's why you need to have a tryout period where you find out, okay, do I really want to be teamed up with this filthy SOB? Because honestly, that can make all the difference in the world, especially when you find yourself in a survival situation and hygiene is look, y'all, I know a lot of people don't know this, but more people died in the Civil War from hygiene than they ever did from bullets. Dead serious. Dead serious. I mean, you could even read some of the letters from, it was Sherman, that he was talking about that in the morning before Reveille, that the cough of the soldiers would drown out the sound of the horns during Reveille. Ain't that crazy? So, I mean, like I said, more people died from disease in pretty much every war pre-20th century, and definitely the 21st century. They died from those things before they ever did anything else. So, and honestly, in these communal environments, that's where you find out. That's really where you find out a whole lot, because if that person won't clean up after themselves, whether it's in the bathroom, whether it's in their room, I guarantee you, it is a massive indication that is one seriously selfish person when it comes down to brass tacks. I'm dead serious. That is the barometer I always use. If they are filthy, they're usually selfish. I know that they don't. I could probably do an entire show on that, but I'm glad Eric brought it up. So speaking of Eric, check out this ballin' shirt I got, Nitrogen Fixer. And that's where I got it from. So go to ericsider.com to go get some of that. All right, y'all. EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. Look, things jump off. You ain't going to the club. You're going to his house. You're going to your bug out location. You're going to be going to a lot of places maybe, but you want to be getting home, okay? Or at least getting to the people you love. And that's exactly why I put the EMP shields on the vehicles. But I tell you what, in addition to what it does on your house as far as the EMP shield and being able to withstand multiple EMP attacks, in addition to that, the number one threat out there, believe it or not, is still lightning. That is the number one threat to your home is lightning. And so as far as the lightning arrestor, if it should get past that EMP shield and damage anything else downstream, they cover you for 25 G's. You find me another transient voltage surge suppressor out there that even offers any guarantee at all. And I'll eat my hat. That's why I reached out to EMP Shield. They did not reach out to me. So you can get $50 off, 50 with discount code PERMA. All right, so let's get into the main topic here. And once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I know there's a whole lot of things you could be doing on Monday night. You could be sitting here watching Fix News. You could be watching MSNBC, getting play-by-play, getting all worked up over what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, I got news for you. Let me ask you something. Will that's basically the title of this show. Will basically tomorrow's results change anything in your life? Let me say it another way. I really want you to think about this. And I heard Paul Wheaton first say this, and it made all the difference in the world when I really thought about it. Let me ask you. If somebody were to give you $5 million tomorrow, what in your life would change? And if you do what most people do, like most people that win the lottery are broker than they were before they won the lottery in 5 years. They go out and spend it on bubble gum. They do very foolish things, and they wind up broker. So let me ask you, if you had $5 million tomorrow, would your life change? Michelle, let me ask you, would your life change?
If you
had $5 million tomorrow.
Well, I would have just a bigger scale of what we're already doing.
Okay. Now for me, nothing changes. And what she says, we just do more of what we're currently doing. I would do a whole lot more of philanthropy. With $5 million, I can get a whole lot of child predators off the streets. You better believe I'd be, yeah. With that, I would only expand what we already do. Okay. So I'm already living the life I want to live for the most part now. In all honesty, with the tragedy that's happened out here in Western North Carolina, I didn't expect myself to be getting into the composting business on a major scale. I never expected that. But I'm realizing I'm probably going to have to do it in order to save the place I live. And I'm not going to trust anybody else to do it. But by and large, if somebody were to hand you a bunch of money and your life changes dramatically tomorrow, then maybe you're not already living the life you ought to be living in the first place. Because for me, it doesn't mean I go out and buy. We buy old vehicles. That's what we do. I don't dress fancy. Anybody that's been anywhere around me, the clothes I wear, you see me wearing now, that's probably what I'll be wearing. I know Shakespeare said the apparel oft proclaimed the man, but that's why he said oft. There's times it doesn't, okay? But by and large, not a whole lot changes in my life. So I'm already living the life I want to live. So it doesn't really matter who's in office for me, but I know that's not the case for everybody else out there. As I said before, both parties are controlled by the same exact interests. BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. They're all controlled by the same people. And by the way, I don't care what the laws, so let's say Harris gets in there. Okay, do I want to see either one of them in there? In fact, I'll tell you who I voted for. It wasn't for either one of them. And in fact, I wrote my name in as the agricultural secretary of North Carolina. I even showed you that. Didn't I show it to you?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. I wrote in Dr. Shiva for president. Why? Because he's not bought and paid for by either party. He's not even on the ballot in most places. I wrote in Dr. Shiva because I know he is not bought and paid for and can't be. Okay. Plus, he's about as liberty-minded he's more liberty-minded than all the others combined out there. I'm not trying to influence anybody. I'm just telling you what I did. These people mean nothing in my life. The rules they make mean nothing in my life. I don't obey unjust laws. You tell me it's illegal to go out there and jump in the dumpster and get food out there to feed to my pigs. I don't care. Just send my mail to the FEMA camp you think you're going to send me to. I'm not going to obey your unjust laws anyway. You're telling me I can't pray the way I want to because if certain interests get their way, there's certain parts of your Bible that are probably not going to be cool anymore, okay? You can make a law for that. You think I'm going to obey it? No. And yeah, you can bring up Romans 13 all you want, but I can guarantee you're taking it out of context. I don't obey unjust laws. You tell me it's illegal for me to grow this plant. If I want to grow it, I'll grow it. If I want 2-story ganja out there, you tell me whose business is it of anybody but me. I don't grow marijuana, but I don't have a problem with the people that do. As long as whatever you're doing is not a tragedy to the commons or you're not hurting children, you do what you want to do. If you want to go out there and call yourself a trans-testicle polar bear, you knock yourself out. Just don't force it on me. You want to chop off your junk or turn it whatever. Yeah, you do whatever you want to do, but don't force it on kids. Okay, at the end of the day, I'm not obeying what you say anyway. You tell me I can't grow my food, or you're telling me it's illegal for me to, let's say I got pigs out here and I want to sell them. Okay, you tell me what sense it makes. And I'm going to reveal my hand on a lot of stuff here, y'all. You tell me what sense it means where it's okay for me to go out here and process poultry and we can go sell it at the farmer's market, right? Until you get to a certain amount, then it's illegal. But if I were to go out here and process a cow or a pig or a sheep, I got to go to a USDA. Look, I'm a trained butcher. I know how they work. These people that are out there doing this work, they don't know anything about butchery. They may have a little bit of, they may have a class or two on whatever, but guess what? The market will decide for itself. So you're telling me that I can't go out here, process an animal and sell it? You know what I'm going to tell you? You can kiss my grits. Yeah, you thought I was going to say something else. Remember, I invent my own profanity. But anyway, you tell me I can't do this. I'm going to tell you, come find me. I'm not going to obey. That is an unjust law. You're telling me I can process all the chickens I want, all the turkeys I want, all the ducks I want. That's perfectly legal to a point, but it's illegal for me to go out here and process this animal, any other animal. That makes no sense to me. That doesn't compute. You know what? I'm not going to obey it. And in fact, you ever buy an animal from me? So let's say, well, how do you get around it, Billy? Well, simple. You buy an animal from a person. Let's say it's a pig. We'll estimate what it's going to cost. Because for me, you're going to save money, and I guarantee you're going to get the animal you paid for. So you go to me, you buy the animal. I just gave it to you under plastic. That's still your animal. You just got it under plastic. Or we just do a handshake deal. Nobody knows about it. I don't care who's in office. I don't care what your rules are. I will not obey. Free men, free women do not ask permission for things that should be common sense. I'm not going to send my kids or my grandkids over to be educated. Like Malcolm X said, only a fool will send his kids to be educated by his enemy. So I'm not going to obey any of your rules. And I don't care who's in there. Composting. Okay. To be legal on composting, I got to follow, Michelle, how many rules are there?
There were a few pages of rules.
A few pages of rules. I got to go through, think about it, to be in compliance with your thermophilic composting rules. I got to kill all the crap that's in. I shouldn't say it that way. To be in accordance with your rules, I have to destroy all of the beneficial microorganisms in there through your process, which is stupid. I'm not going to obey your rules. Come get me. Come get me. And then it'll be a testament for all the other people out there who are not going to obey idiotic and stupid rules, whether it applies to processing or whether it applies to composting. Because the reason we make great compost is because I don't follow your rules. The reason why we produce animals that are better in terms of every way, first of all, when I dispatch an animal, it is a very emotional thing for most people, and it is for me as well. I'll just turn my brain off when I do it. But think about what that animal goes through when I got to sit here and load them up. Okay, that's stressful. Put them in the trailer, take that animal away from whatever is very familiar to that animal. That's very stressful. Drop them off in a place where they smell the blood 10 miles away. That's stressful. They're waiting in a holding pen, knowing full well the death that is around them because they know they're in a processing house. That's stressful. Now, how do you think that translates into the meat that you get back from that place? But that makes sense. That makes sense.
And that's not even, you didn't even cover the death, the actual process of the death, and how like that might not go well.
Yeah.
There's that whole process too.
Or you got some very morbid SOBs that work at a lot of these processing places. That's why I say you shouldn't process animals every single day, because it screws your brain up. I'm dead serious. It really does. You want to see some of the most unbalanced, probably potential serial killers on the planet. They probably work in processing houses. I'm dead serious. And they don't even care if they get it right. When you go through a processing class with me and Jason, like in the pig processing, look at how much time Jason takes to make sure that shot is right dead on the money. And I don't care how long it takes. A minute, 10 minutes. We're going to take it as long as it takes to make sure we get that shot right. Well, they don't use 22s or anything else, or a 410 when it comes to making a shot in these processing houses. They use a pneumatic tool altogether. And sometimes they process so many animals in a day that they don't really, if they get it wrong, oh, big deal. Well, anyway, point being, to be in compliance with their rules, their federal rules, the USDA rules, all these other rules, I got to follow a bunch of idiotic rules that make the process worse. It makes the process less healthy, because how do you think that meat comes back to you? Okay. So I'm not going to follow any of the rules. So I don't care who's in office. Look, I'm not concerned about what's in the White House. I'm worried about what's going on in my house and in the houses around me, if I can be of assistance to these people and to be a blessing to them. I think we're so busy worried about the macro that we seldom worry about the micro. Look, if you're in a position out there, why aren't you running for city council? If you're in the sound of my voice and you're saying, giving me an amen to what I'm saying right now, folks, the only way to do it is to take it back on the local scale, because I really don't care what you say on the national scale. I don't even care what you say on the local scale, because you're not going to tell me what I'm going to do on my property. Oh, it's illegal. Oh, let's say you're in an HOA. Oh, you're not allowed to have roosters here. Oh, really? Well, guess what? My roosters identify as dogs. Start doing some of this mental jujitsu out there like Jack Spirko often talks about. I mean, I'm not going to play these games. Folks, regarding what may happen or may not happen, look, if you want the number one scenario to make this whole country jump off tomorrow, first of all, if you look at the real numbers out there, I mean, it is a joke. Kamala Harris should be sniffing luggage at the airport, not running for president. I'm dead serious. She is so stupid. In fact, I apologize to all the dogs out there.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, this woman is as dumb as a bag of hammers. And this thing isn't even close. But if you wanted to set this place ablaze, what you would do is go ahead, have Fixed News and all the others. Oh, yeah, this is a close race, and they give it to her. You know, they deliberate over a few days. So you're going to have the right ticked off. They're probably not going to burn anything down, but they're going to be very pissed. Then if you really want to set this country ablaze, you have the Supreme Court go back and overturn everything and say, yep, this was a big mess. And, of course, the people on the lunatics on the left ain't going to care either. There's lunatics on the right and the left, but at least I can relate to a little bit to the ones on the right. Anyway, that would set this whole country ablaze. So as far as the results of what may happen tomorrow, yeah, get your beans and bullets in order. I'm dead serious. Think about other things like fortifying your location, no matter where you are. If you're living in the city, okay, think about some of the things I've talked about in the past. Look, I've given you all the resources before. I'm in the process of writing a book on this sort of thing. Actually got to have time to do it, but it's all up here and it hasn't yet been put on paper. But think about fortifying your location. Think about all the things. Think about, look, you may not be able to afford storable ready-made food. Can you go to Costco? Can you go to Sam's? Last time I checked at Sam's, I don't know. It's been a while. I haven't looked. But, I mean, you can get a 50-pound bag of rice for under $30. I mean, it's high. It's $10 higher than it was the year prior, but it's still
I think
a
it's
bargain.
about 25.
Okay, so let's say it's 25. 50 pounds for $25. Buy yourself some Mylar bags. Buy some 5-gallon buckets. Put back some food. Beans, dry beans are cheap. Get yourself a solar oven. I mean, there's a whole lot of things you could be doing right now, and you should be doing them anyway, because I don't care who gets in there. This thing's probably going to fall apart financially one way or another. So it really doesn't matter. Okay, it's either, like I said, it's either going to happen fast or it's going to happen slow. Or it's going to happen fast, then slow, or slow, then fast. Who even knows? But at the end of the day, folks, let me kind of come full circle with this. There is nothing happening tomorrow that anybody should be on pins and needles about. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to obey anyway. I haven't been obeying for the last 2 decades, and I ain't about to start. I don't care what your rules are. I don't obey unjust laws. Now, it might shock you, and when they had the sit-ins back in the 1960s, I think it's completely up to a business owner to decide who they will or won't let in their establishment. Okay, I'm not with that. Like I said, I'm about as liberty-minded as they get. I'm all for a free market. And you know what? I don't think there should have been any mandates on, who you let in the restaurant and who you shouldn't. Yeah, that might sound shocking coming from a brown person like me. But what you don't know, the little secret that they didn't talk about in the 1960s is the reason they didn't want black people in those restaurants is because black people don't tip. I'm joking. But they don't. That's another story altogether. And if Oprah is doing entire shows about why black people don't tip, that's another story altogether. But the point being, I don't think private businesses should be mandated as to who they will or won't let in there. No shoes, no shirt, no service. Okay. You don't want me in there? Okay, I don't have to go in there. The market will decide. The market will figure this out and let you know what's okay. And as far as the mandate is saying, let this person, look, you don't want white people in your business? Okay, fine. You don't get them in there. The market will decide. Sooner or later, you know what? That's why Donald Trump created Mar-a-Lago. A lot of people don't know that. It's because of all the old money down there in Florida. They had these old boy golf clubs that even Tiger Woods couldn't play at. Yeah, that's how deep the bigotry went. Trump started Mar-a-Lago, and a lot of people don't know this, to allow basically anybody in there. So it was on the matter of competition. So he took all the business from them, brought it over to Mar-a-Lago. That's exactly how that place started. And a lot of people don't know it. So it was a matter of the business. The market will decide how these things fall into place. So anyway, didn't mean to get on the sidetrack about that. But the point being is, at the end of the day, folks, if you are a free man, a free woman, you shouldn't even care what's about to happen tomorrow. Should you participate? I'll leave that up to you to decide. But at the end of the day, worry about what's happening in your house. I know a guy that looked through trade magazines for a month before he figured out what truck he was going to buy, but didn't even read a single book on how to keep his boy from committing suicide. How about that? So we know the price of everything and the value of nothing in this country, and that's what we got to turn around. And it all starts at working as centrally as possible. Get yourself squared away. Once you got that squared away, maybe go start a mutual assistance group like I'm trying to do. Like maybe down here at this, like I talked about earlier, with, going out there to Appalachian Hat Company, supporting the Creaky Tree Cafe, Appalachian Hat Company. And at the same time, maybe it's a party with a purpose. Maybe we go out there, we eat some good food. And then maybe we form enclaves. Oh, you have a backhoe over here. Well, guess what? I know how to process animals. Maybe we can help each other. You know what I mean? Or, oh, you know how to do tinctures over here? Well, I know how to do this. That's where this sort of thing stops. So then you're completely, you make yourself a little bit harder to kill, you dig? If you got these kinds of relationships. And that's exactly what we need to be doing right now. But we keep falling into this idiotic left-right paradigm. Look, I'm not playing along. Like I said, I voted. Yeah. And like I said, I even wrote myself in. I should have wrote myself in as president. Because the first thing, let me just tell you this. It was a quote from J.R.R. Tolkien. The most improper job of any man, including saints, is bossing other men. Not one in a million is fit for it, and least of all those that seek the opportunity. Okay? Think about that. The most improper job of any man, and saints, is bossing other men. Not one in a million is fit for it, and least of all those that seek the opportunity. Think about all the people that run your city council. Think about all the people that are in these levers of power. These were all the people that back in high school ran for city council that you wanted to knock their teeth down their throats. They are. That's exactly. They're suck-ups, they're bow-downs. These are people that you wouldn't even trust to be in your own home. In fact, these are very people that are probably almost certainly compromised in 10,000 different ways. That's why they vote the way they do. They're like, oh, you're not going to vote this way? Remember those pictures we got of you in this blah, 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 blah? Yeah. That's what's going on. So I'm not taking any advice from these people. I'm not taking marching orders from these people. I'm not going to hate somebody because of these people. I'm not doing anything because of these people. The Lord made me a sovereign human being, and that's what I intend to die as. Whether that becomes criminal over time, well, send my mail to the county jail, Jack, because I'm not going to play in that paradigm because I don't belong in it. So I'm hoping a lot of you people out there holler if you hear me in the chat. Give me an amen, and if you disagree, that's fine as well. You can have your opinion, and I'll have the right one. I'm just kidding, but not really. Anyway, before we get into the Q&A, I want to tell you, Harvest Right freeze dryers. If you should need one, look, I know they're expensive, but if you need one, consider getting one from our link. It helps us a great deal. We use it all the time. In fact, that thing runs day and night around here because I practice what I preach. I mean, Michelle, that swine I killed, 2 years ago?
I think so.
Yeah, that one I did 2 years ago. When I say swine, I'm not referring to a politician. I'm talking to this red wattle that I put in the freezer a couple of years ago. I'm still working on putting him away. So I'm like, okay, I got to make room for some more stuff because I'm running out of freezer space. So anyway, the idea is we're basically taking some of that old meat that's still perfectly fine. Like I said, it's 2 years old, perfectly fine. And made a little bit of pulled pork out of it and then made like this little casserole and stuck it in the freeze dryer. Anyway, Harvest Right freeze dryers, man, they're the shiznit in my view. So if you need one or you're thinking about getting one or on a community base, you're thinking about getting one, use our link. It helps us out a little bit. And I ain't going to lie, that thing is awesome. Michelle, what on earth are you doing over there?
Just checking to see if there's any questions in the chat.
Well, if you got any, put them in bold letters because with these birth control glasses, y'all, I mean, they do a good job in cutting down the, what are you looking at?
The light, the bad light.
The bad light.
That's coming in your eyes. That's what you're talking about, the glasses.
Yeah. But you were looking at me weird. That's what I was talking about. Anyway, yeah. These things, y'all, I got the yellow pair on right now, and I got a red pair. And the reason I've been wearing them, like I said, I'm constantly doing these biohacks. Man, I'm telling you, they seem to be making a big, big difference on my sleep. My brain is running at 100 miles an hour all times, and I got to find clever ways to slow it down. I probably am a person that should never drink coffee.
And I tell them that every single morning.
Yeah, but I do. And I don't even get the point if it's decaf. I mean, I'm already running at 100 miles an hour anyway. So to shut my brain off at night, believe it or not, these things seem to be helping where I can kind of ease into slowing my brain down a little bit. And then when I get out of here, like these are more like a daytime thing. If you got to look on a computer, probably handy for anybody working in the office setting, but I got to wear them in the studio because I can't see nothing. I mean, I definitely can't see what y'all are writing on there. So, Anyway, let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and start off with some of the questions I got here, and we'll get to some of you folks if you got any in the chat. This one here from K-Bag says, or his name is Ken. I'll be as brief as possible. Last week, I went to a mountain above Bernardsville. I can never say that. Barnardsville, to see if my son's ridge cabin was still here. I could see down trees on the southwest side. He got to the backside Sunday, and instead of being able to see a leafy canopy where they were trying to chainsaw their way to the top, he said he saw a lot of down trees in the open sky, or a tornado or something like it. Yep, basically hit it on the south cooler east side. So just like you and Bear described. So anyway, yeah, folks, there was a whole lot of weird, let's call them anomalies. Anomalies. That's what I'll call it. When this whole hurricane hit here, y'all, and I ain't going to shut up about it because look, I'm out there having to remediate some problems that I didn't create, but I got to fix them because you know what? One day I would love to be able to eat fish out of this freaking river without going way up in the high mountains. I'd love to be able to eat trout out of a river that ought to be like blowing apart at the banks with them. Yeah, they're in there, but they're either dead or dying, or even if you get them out of there, do you want to eat them? So, yeah, I got to fix some of these problems around here, and I'm going to be calling on a lot of people to help me out there too. What do you got, honey?
I don't have any questions.
All right. Anybody in the chat? Yeah, holla if you hear me. Well, folks, look, the bottom line is to come full circle with this. Be a sovereign. Be what you were supposed to be. Be that person in the arena where you're not asking for permission. Why should you? Why should you? I don't recall anybody from the government out here helping us slog it out while we're over here working down by this river helping people out. I don't remember the government. In fact, I mean, if the government wanted, why ain't you in here doing any of the testing? Why am I having to dig in my pocket to pay for this? Okay? Why am I having to do all this? And you want me to take your orders? You want me to follow your orders? I don't think so. I don't care who's in there. I ain't doing what you tell me to do. I'll do what the good Lord tells me to do first and foremost. And then right after that, I'm going to pray for the guidance, the wisdom, the judgment, justice. I'm going to pray for all those things. Any update on the state national reclassification? Good question. Man, I'll be honest with you. Is it Mason? Yeah. Mason, I'll be honest with you. I've been trying to do that for a couple of months now. And we're all set to get opping and popping. The first thing you got to do is get your birth certificate double authenticated. And that's exactly the case. That's exactly what I intend to do, is become a state national. Vote Jesus. Yeah, I can dig that. The idea being, as a state national, you don't have to pay any taxes. You don't have to do it. You got to create different business structures, all of which I'm not 100% squared away on right now. But the idea is to ultimately get there, because think about it. There's 4 ways to spend money. Hear me when I talk about this. The great Milton Friedman talked about it. There's only 4 ways to spend money. Spending other people's money on other people, where neither cost nor quality matters. That's what your federal government does, okay? Then they're spending other people's money on yourself. Well, let's say you're one of those bureaucrats and you get the glad handing like I used to see at the VA. Well, okay, you're spending other people's money on yourself. Well, the cost doesn't matter, but quality sure does, because I'm spending it on me. Then they're spending your money on other people, okay? If I'm spending my money on other people, cost matters, but quality maybe to a lesser extent, because it's my money. Then they're spending my money on my interests, where both cost and quality matters. So in all those quadrants, which one do you think is the best? Clearly, it's the last, spending my money on my interests. Well, I can't do that if I'm letting the government steal the money I could be using to give, let's say, to Caleb House, or to give to my pastor, or to give to some really good. If I'm rendering unto Caesar, yeah, I'll render it at the checkout line on the things I purchase. Yeah, somebody says there, you can't serve 2 masters. Exactly. And that's why I'm saying, if I can put myself in a legal structure that allows me to spend, because folks, we are not the Rockefellers, but we do in fact spend a fair amount of money on other things. And we don't talk about that. Well, just like Jesus said, you go tell everybody what you do. Well, that's your reward. But we do I can spend more of it if I'm not spending it to bomb people in countries where we have no national interest and we have no reason to do it, or to give it to other countries to murder people overseas. Well, if I could just have back the tax money, do you have any idea how much more good, just us right here in this household? Do you have any idea how many more interests, how many more kids could I rescue at vet or at Caleb House? How many more trees could we plant? How many more things could we do? Somebody says you could do a podcast on creating a national and state business. Yeah, that's exactly what I intend to do when the time is right. But we got to get ourselves squared away. And honestly, man, that's a ball I've been dropping for a while. I'm glad you brought it up because truth of it is, I know a lot of people, and some of you out there may know some of them that are in this podcast and YouTube space that have already done the same thing. They just don't talk about it. But I'm telling you right now, I just know that I can do 10 times more. We do a lot now, and leveraging the help of all of you folks out there. We do a lot now, but how much more could I do if I'm not having other people, if I'm not giving my money to other people to spend on other people, where neither cost nor quality matters? And then it goes right back to where we're talking about the remediation, where I don't know that unless I have got boots on the ground, I'm not just going to trust anybody with this compost that we have. I am not just going to trust anybody out there to go do the remediation. They need to be trained, and it needs to be done properly, and the tools and everything else need to be cleaned properly. So, Michelle, are you kind of committed to no longer being a slave in this matrix?
No longer.
Yeah. Oh,
Excuse me?
oh, so you're saying you weren't before? No, I'm saying regarding this whole election thing. I mean, is it gonna change?
Sadly, no, it's not going to change. I'm
going to change you.
Say that again.
Is this election going to change how you do anything?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, no, it's not. Like, people get all worked up over the two choices, but like, I can think of examples here in our community that if we would actually change them, like, just for example, think about the bakery in Asheville and the ridiculous amount of laws that they have.
Touché.
Like, let's focus on them, because that would actually change your daily life.
Like, okay, for example, we went to Asheville the other day. I don't know how many weeks I've been saying, ever since this whole thing, oh, we don't have water. I said, why didn't anybody go out there and get a bunch of IBC totes, put potable water in it, and have a plumber come out, pipe it into the system, and bam, you're back in business.
Yeah, and some of them have done that, but
one of them have done it that we know of. One of them has done that. I've been saying that for weeks, but everybody's waiting, just sitting back, waiting on the city to do whatever, or you're waiting on some health inspector. Folks, do you have any idea just to open a brick and mortars business, even the crap they pull with food trucks?
Oh yeah, but like alcohol laws. Remember what they said they had to go through just to get an just to get a liquor license? It's ridiculous.
Just to serve mimosas on a Sunday brunch. Yeah. I mean, idiotic things like that. Idiotic rules where some bureaucrat needs his palm greased or whatever. Folks, I'm not playing that game. You shouldn't either. And honestly, we have so much fraud, waste, abuse, just flat out corruption going on out there. And guess what? I'm not going to deal with it. I'm not going to play with it. I'm not even going to play in that system. That's why when somebody says, well, aren't you worried about going to jail over it? No, I ain't worried about it. First of all, I thoroughly vet who I do business with when it comes on that scale. And honestly, the profits we make from the businesses we have, I could do 10 times more good in this world if I weren't giving it to a system. First of all, why are you taxing us anyway when you can sit here and print the money? It's insane. And you talk to somebody about taxes, they just glaze over. I'm like, no. Oh, it's your responsibility. It's your duty. Oh, really? Really? Don't get well. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, we can't.
Right
We can't open that can of worms tonight.
Somebody said, "What happened to the West End Bakery?" Right now, they're still doing their thing. They're working on a retail. Last I got with them, they were doing wholesale customers. So basically, providing buns and stuff like that, and still at the same time feeding the community. But right now, most of these businesses out there are just not doing any business because nobody said, "Hey, gee, let me think just a little bit outside the box and get some potable water off a truck."
Asheville still needs drinkable water. They still don't have drinkable water.
No,
and
they
it's going to be like the report that came out said early December is probably the earliest that they're going to get.
Prime example. Right there on Merriman Avenue, there's a Chick-fil-A, and right across from it is a Five Guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Chick-fil-A has everything they normally have on the menu. I mean, near as I can tell, everything's on the menu. Right across the street is a Five Guys. You go in there. I remember I went in there. I said, I was trying to get something. I don't know why I had a hankering for fries. So I said, let me go into Five Guys. I go into Five Guys. I said, yeah, can I get some fries? The guy tells me, this is 2 days ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
2 days ago. One's right across the street from the other. And he says, well, we can't serve. We don't have any veggies. We don't have any, I think it was a guy. I mean, that's if I guessed his sex correctly. I don't know what I was talking to be honest with you. He says, man, or whatever. Says, we can't have anything that needs any kind of washing. I'm like, why not? He says, well, we don't have any water, man. We can't risk it. I'm like, well, how's Chick-fil-A over there? They got everything on the menu. He's like, well, we're not going to. You couldn't even get his brain to work and realize. I'm like, dude, all I want is some fries. And I'm like, man, don't make me burn this joint down. No, I didn't say that.
Just to get some fries.
I'm like, really? You got one business across the street, same place. But here's one on the other side of the street, same location. And for some reason, you can't figure out the technology on how to wash off vegetables. Really? So, yeah, we'll just see how all this stuff pans out. All right. So, 16th Amendment to the Constitution was never ratified. Yup. Only 2 states ratified it. And I think 30 plus states are needed. When you sign the 1099, you volunteered to pay, per IRS. Yep. Thank you very much, my friend. And that's what a lot of people don't know about. But you can create a trust and you can get all your assets and everything else put in there. And a lot of people don't know about it. And it's what the very, very wealthy people do. You ever wonder why Hillary Clinton doesn't pay taxes? Why Al Sharpton hasn't paid taxes in 20 years? You want to know what they're doing? It's what I'm going to start doing. And you can get around this stuff. And folks, it can be done. So maybe we'll get an expert on here talking about these very things in the future. But yeah, I know we kind of went all over the place, but hopefully it was a blessing to you. But y'all do not lose your mind over this nonsense unfolding tomorrow. I mean it. Do not lose your mind. It ain't changing. Do whatever you can charge whatever in your tax laws. Okay, fine. It's not equally apportioned as the Constitution states. So guess what? Unless you get me at the checkout line, bro, you get none of these. You get these NUTs. All right, y'all. Until next time, stay alert.
Stay alive.
They don't want an individual, just a carbon copy. You spitting that manicotti, yeah, I'm talking saucy. All they want to build is a prison world full of pet Tamagotchis. Like a kamikaze, got me out of body like I'm Goku SS3. Woo! They want to push me to the center like a cell. They want to spin up at the center of the next is me. They want me to bow down, but I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior.